Pop Culture Pastor.
So, Cody, we need to talk about your favorite Roberts.
Eric?
Look, you didn't
Or
even know.
Emma?
Well, first of all, why the Julia slander? Why is Julia not in the running for your favorite Roberts? She's delightful.
Is she? Is she?
How, you say like you know her personally.
We do have beef.
Oh.
It's a long story.
Did you used to date Julia Roberts?
I can't get into it.
Oh, you signed a non-disclosure.
As one might do.
This is getting more interesting. So, y'all listening at home, just try to take guesses on why we can't get into it. But apparently, Cody has some sort of history with Julia Roberts.
Extreme beef.
Extreme beef. Yeah, no, we're not going to talk about Julia. Not Eric either. He should not be your favorite Roberts, but for whatever reason, he is.
He's Jackson's favorite Roberts, and he is in my top 3 with Emma most of the time number 1, but sometimes Robin jumps up there.
Now, why do you like Emma?
Because I grew up with Emma.
Okay, she's like near your age.
Yes.
See, like I am an Eric Roberts person because he's near my age. I grew up with Eric. And then Julia came along, Pretty Woman, whatever. I'm sure you've heard of it.
Some small flick.
Richard Gere, Roy
Runaway.
Orbison.
Runaway Bride is what I'm hearing.
Nobody remembers Runaway Bride. Nobody cares about Runaway Bride. It's all about Pretty Woman. Maybe a little Ocean's 11.
She was in it?
Yeah, well, everybody was in it. Yes, she was in it. She's like the main female character in Ocean's 11.
All anyone remembers is George and Brad.
Okay, anyways, this is Pop Culture Pastor, the podcast. My name's Dave. Cody's here.
I am. Sorry for any Roberts slander.
We also have a guest. For a first-time guest, Dan Carrol is here. He's in communications, which is what he told me to say. He's actually a communications director, but I still wouldn't know what the difference is anyways. He does way more technical things than I do, I'm sure. That's what that means.
No. I work with a team of highly qualified individuals I just take credit for.
Is that kind of like IT?
Well, no, we do a lot of social media content, website, just anything that goes out, communications about our nonprofit. It runs through our department.
Oh, you do social media? Mm-hmm. What are your rates? We might be looking.
We're all about finding some PR assistants.
It takes way too much time.
It does. It takes a lot of time.
Anyways, so Dan's here. Welcome, Dan, to the podcast. We're going to talk about Emma Roberts.
Sweet. My favorite Roberts.
I was on board for Julia, but that's neither here nor there.
I'm really here for any Roberts. Robert Duvall. Emma Roberts recently did an interview for Variety. She's probably in some new movie. I don't know. I don't follow her that much. I don't know what it is about her, but I don't know. I kind of liked her in the movie where they're in the RV with Jason Sudeikis.
We're the Millers? Or
Yeah.
The Millers? Yeah.
That movie, I enjoyed that movie, and she was in that. But she did this interview, and, she was in Madam Web.
The hit classic Madam Web.
That's what I hear. And one of the running themes we've kind of been talking about on this show is sort of the conversation around movies right now, around comic book movies, but in a larger sense around IP. And frankly, Emma is about to take this to the next level to just talk about movie fandom in general, I guess.
Well, just note, Dave, Madam Web's web connects us all.
She says this, quote, "I'm not intimidated by failure, and I'm not intimidated by people having negative thoughts about something. I personally really loved Madam Web." Do you think she means that? Is she being honest? Do you think she really liked Madam Web? Do you think she watched Madam Web?
So I will say I can see her really being heavily influenced by the fun they might have had on set of making Madam Web. It does seem like a good cast. The cast is phenomenal. Evidently, the storytelling was not up to par. I definitely think that could be a part of it. And maybe there is a cut or a version where it makes more sense than the one they released into theaters.
I doubt it.
If this director's anything like my friend Zachary Snyder, that is, he'll make like a 6-hour movie.
Still won't make sense.
And then it will have to be chopped down to like an hour and a half, 2 hours. And you're like, this dude just really needs to make miniseries.
I'll say this for Zack Snyder. I do make fun of Zack. I do, crack jokes at Zack's expense. But I'll say this. When you see the uncut whatever he did, you can at least see his train of thought.
Oh, yeah.
You can see what he was thinking. And granted, it's a bit much. Like, dude,
he doesn't know how to tell a short story.
How did you think you were ever going to fit this into like 2.5 to 3 hours of a movie? And I used to think, well, Zack Snyder is maybe as bad as it gets. But now, I think comparatively speaking now, especially when you see a lot of the content on streaming networks like shows, Zack Snyder seems like Scorsese. But there's bad stuff out there right now. Mm-hmm. Like, look, we haven't really talked much about The Acolyte, and we could go on. This is not what this show's about. We could go on all day about what's wrong with it or what's good about it. And there's solid things being said both ways. I think there's good and bad in the show. But what's really apparent to me watching The Acolyte is it's just not very well constructed. It's not. I don't know how to explain it. And I don't know that it's the director's fault. It could be doing a job for a large entity that has oversight over it. I don't know what it's about, so I'm not here to throw blame. But what I'm saying is just entertainment in general, movies in general, it seems like directing is maybe a lost art. I don't know. Maybe Scorsese's wrong about the content. It's the directing.
Maybe. I also wonder with like this year's cinema, this year's TV series, if they're suffering because of the writers'
that could be
strike.
That's a fair point.
And that like, oh, we have to rush and meet this deadline so it can get put out. Things that might have been brainstormed and flushed out aren't getting fully flushed.
Yeah. Emma goes on. She says this, quote, if it wasn't for internet culture and everything being made into a joke, I think that the reception would have been different. I don't know about that. Emma. She goes on, and that's what bums me out about a lot of stuff. Even stuff I've done is people just make such a joke out of everything now. Yeah, we are living in meme culture. And there were a lot of memes as it pertains to Madam Web, even before it came out. Everyone just knew it was going to be bad. And then she said this. This is what I really want to go into. Emma says, we've just cultivated now this hate culture towards celebrities and towards movies and television online, where it used to be like 5 people reviewed a movie. Now it's like you have people that won't even say what their real name is, saying how much they hate or our stuff. So let me address this in pieces. One, this hate culture towards celebrities and towards movies. I really dislike this. She's not the only celebrity or movie person to have gone this route. This blanket statement you can make, like, I know I could never make anything bad. I know everything I make is 100% going to be well received, when really nothing has ever been that. There's people who didn't like Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's subjective, right? It's not usually objective. It's subjective. Now, most people will like things that are good, but not everybody, and that's just okay. When they lay down statements like this, I don't think they're helping the cause. They're just causing more of a reaction. So I really don't like that statement.
I think we live in a time that is super like hypercritical of everything. So yes, to your point, nothing is going to be objectively agreed upon. I think art or otherwise. I really have to say I don't know as much about this particular the web, Madam
Web.
Madam Web.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm not familiar.
I haven't seen it.
Okay.
Just full disclosure.
But making bold statements like that, if it weren't for all of the haters out there, everyone would love this. That seems like a pretty bold statement to objectively claim that what you're doing is good. But I mean, to each their own, I suppose. In that subjective lens, we all kind of have a predisposition or bias of our own art, things that we put out, it has to be good. I'm doing it. I wouldn't put my life into it. I wouldn't pour myself out to do this if it wasn't good.
I mean, it wasn't that Emma Roberts got paid. I mean, it's a Sony Marvel movie. I mean, sure, it wasn't because she earned a hefty paycheck from that.
Okay. Contrarian Cody has entered the building.
I love that he has to introduce it. Cody with the dissent.
So I do agree with Emma to a certain point, just because right now, in the time that we live in, we have a generation that grew up thinking you can be wildly successful, you can be wildly famous, and you can make a living just making content. YouTube content. A whole generation of kids that literally grew up with that. They are now young adults. And we have kids coming up that also think that. We live in a culture where, I mean, everyone has a podcast. Literally, we have a podcast.
I mean, literally everyone.
Yes. I wouldn't be shocked if my mom has a podcast.
If she does, we need to know about that, because that would be great listening.
It would be.
Lots of blue bloods. No?
I don't, maybe. I don't know. So there's a lot of people that are voicing their opinion. And so right now, I think it is real easy for people to say, Sony has their fingers on this. This is garbage. I'm going to bash it without even watching it. Mm-hmm. And then it is also real easy for people to say, well, I can make something better than this, even though they do not have the budget, the equipment, the training, or necessarily the vision to do it. There are a select few people out in the world that probably can. And so I do think it is very easy for people to be critical, and I don't know if it would have gotten mass approval, Madam Web. I think it would have got better box office numbers, which would have helped the theater industry as a whole if it hadn't gotten bashed way before it even came out. 2 months and we had all the memes. Literally, there's a line about my mom went to the jungle, and yeah, like people were making fun of that before it came out. Her web connects us all was a big thing. That's why I've been saying it this whole time. The culture of content, whether it is making videos, making memes, making posts, making TikToks, whatever, it's out there. And there's a group of people that are like, well, I've done this, so I definitely have an opinion and a voice. And yes, you do have an opinion and a voice, but is it one that warrants this level of eyes on it?
Probably not. But let me take what you just said there. There's a group of people. So when she says they don't even put their name on it, what she's talking about is social media and like YouTube culture. So there's a lot of YouTube channels out there that review things, and some of them, well, a lot of them will make bank and make hay off of, like, you know, being anti-Disney, for instance.
Yes.
So anything Star Wars, anything Marvel right now, they're just gonna poop on it, and then they're gonna put they're gonna make the little graphics. You know about this, Dan? The social media graphics, the cover photo, and it's gonna be like them making this face, like, oh, this is Disney does it again. It's terrible. So she's right about that, and I agree. But what I don't like is she's taking that group and she's extrapolating it into all feedback. Listen, I didn't see the movie, so in that's fair. It's fair to say I didn't see the movie, so I don't know for sure, and I am kind of riding the wave. However, my opinion was formed when I saw the trailer. Trailers are important because it should be, and what it usually is the trailer is the best the movie's going to look. Hollywood is very good at taking their movie, putting it down to 2 minutes, and making it look impressive. This is the best this movie's going to look.
Star Wars has gotten me so many times.
Star Wars, the sequels, trailers for Star Wars were a masterclass in trailer making. Incredible.
Maybe not in execution of overall movie, but in trailer making, you betcha.
I didn't need to tell anyone to tell me that I didn't want to see Madam Web. I saw the trailer and I thought, oh, you remember, I messaged you immediately. This is garbage. And by the way, the Agatha All Along trailer came out today. Garbage.
I will be watching that garbage.
It looks so bad, Cody. And it's interesting because online, the conversation around it seems to be there are a bunch of people like that are my opinion that say, oh, this looks terrible. And it's funny. Those people are usually comic book people. The people that are like, well, wait, it looks okay to me are the people who don't have the background in comics. And I will say that, yeah, the trailer's constructed in a way, at least it looks interesting, even though it has no connection and consistency with the character that was presented to us in WandaVision.
Agatha's just like a side character that no one cares about. So
that's the worst thing you can say about it is nobody cares.
But if they're borrowing from DC's lone thing that they do well, Peacemaker.
Yeah, but that's James Gunn, though. That's not DC.
James Gunn. And, well, I would say the same thing with Sandman. You have to either really love Sandman or you don't know anything about Sandman.
Yeah.
And
I get you.
Like the Arrow verse, besides Flash, I mean, everything else was, some people like Green Arrow, but not the vast majority.
Let's be fair. The Arrowverse was only watched because they couldn't make movies that would satisfy people.
This is true.
The Arrowverse was like, well, it's not as good as, Marvel movies, but it's the best we got, so we'll watch it and be a fan. That's honestly what it was. And The Flash was the same way. The first couple seasons of The Flash, mildly entertaining.
But for me, I was just saying that The Flash was like a peak property.
Yeah. So, okay. My point is that Emma Roberts, she's not the only one. There's a lot of movie people doing this where they're extrapolating this group on social media. Yeah, the social media discourse on all this is a joke and is terrible. But she's extrapolating it into, but this is why the larger group of people didn't go see the movie. Like, no, you're not giving people enough credit. People are smart enough to know that just because social media says something, all these kids that have grown up in social media, they don't need to be told that they might like a movie that social media is saying is trash.
I will combat that just a little. We might be in a super age of disenchantment.
Well, yeah, I would agree with that.
And that's across
for sure.
the spectrum, not just in pop culture, but like politics, sports. I mean, there's so much negativity out there that people are just like, I'm done.
Well, then I'll put this back on the MCU. What have we been saying for the last 3 years, Cody? Slow down, make it good. Quit rushing stuff out there that's mediocre. Like, that's the worst thing we can say about the Marvel stuff, is that Thor Love and Thunder, it's not a terrible movie.
It's fun.
It's mediocre. The Marvels is mediocre, and it's not good enough. If we're living in an age and time of disenchantment, you better make it good. Madam Web, not up to snuff. Okay, let's move on. Joe Russo chimes in.
Which Joe Russo? The one that made the Avengers? Well, they're both directors. So there's one that's in the horror genre.
Oh.
And he's a great follow on Twitter. But then there's Joe Russo, brother of the other Russo, who made Infinity War.
Well, this is Joe Russo tweets. So I have no idea which Joe Russo is. I didn't know there was multiple Joe Russos.
Same.
Yes, there is a difference between the Joe Russos. That's the horror movie.
Okay, so this Joe guy Russo is a horror movie director.
Primarily. Now, he does have terrific insights because he is a legit director for major studios, but he's not the one that made the Infinity War.
Oh, but he still has an opinion that I'm interested in. Okay, so he says this. He quote tweeted an Emma Roberts, the article on Variety, and he said, Emma Roberts is right. We need more thoughtful film criticism from people who deeply understand the craft and less than knee-jerk rage bait takes. Again, he's packaged something I disagree with inside something I agree with, right? Yeah, of course, thin knee-jerk rage bait takes, nobody's for that. But you notice he crafts this and he packages it inside, we need thoughtful film criticism from people who deeply understand the craft. Do you see what he's doing there? There's like this very thinly veiled, you just don't get it. You don't get our creations. That's junk. A food critic doesn't need to know how McDonald's works to be able to tell you the food's not good or good.
Contrarian Cody returns. I was hoping he had left. I can usually tell, like, is this good or bad? I'm not going to be able to give you definitive note by note, like what makes this subjectively good or not.
All right.
And so I do think there is higher level of critiques that will break it down like this is complete trash and A, B, C, D, E, F, G, why it's complete trash. And so the horror movies about Winnie the Pooh, I'm going to assume those are awful.
Blood and honey?
Yeah, I don't need to really go out of my way to watch it.
Shocking blood and honey slander.
Exactly. But there will be critics that will be like, well, it set the slasher genre back by doing this, this, and this. So it goes into more detail, and there's more care around the subject than some loose cannon being like, it's made by Sony, it's trash.
Yeah, I guess. Honest question then, Cody, and then we can move on. Do you need to deeply understand the craft to understand that Morbius isn't a good movie? Do you need to understand how they make movies to know that that's not great?
I think there's some that you can just tell this is really bad or this is really good. But for some that might be more divisive, it's good to have the higher criteria to say, I like this about it, like that.
You've answered the question. The prosecution rests, Your Honor.
Okay.
But you see, you were still justifying. I just wanted you to answer the question.
I know, but I'm just saying that, yes, there's some that's really good, some that's really bad, and you can just tell.
Okay.
But not everything's that.
All right. That's fair. I think it's fair. I just think there's nuance. Her description has no nuance, and that's my problem. She's doing the same thing that the content creators are doing. She's just going it the other way. And this is what bugs me about pretty much all our discourse now, because it's all like this. I'm going to combat their ridiculous, over-the-top, way too extreme discourse with my own.
Fight fire with fire. That's what my friends at the Talking Heads would say.
She should have come out and she said, well, I think my performance in Madam Web was pretty good, but Dakota Johnson, just terrible. No.
How dare you?
All right, let's move on. It's time to play the movie game. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back. It's time to play the movie game. Last week, guest Justin John in the tiebreaker. I'm not sure how to grade this because we did a bonus round because the first round was so futile.
I literally could see the movie poster for Goodfellas in my head, but could not get Goodfellas out.
Listen, it's harder than it sounds. Y'all are yelling at the podcast and playing along with the game, but if you're not here playing it live, you don't get the stress.
It's like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
It really is.
Like, there's people on there that I know are super smart, and then they choke under the lights.
Yeah. So it is a little bit more difficult, but we got Dan here who's going guest on the show. He's going to play against Cody. Let me explain what's going to happen here, Dan. I have 3 movie profiles from Rotten Tomatoes. One is a certified fresh movie, a really good one. One is a mediocre movie, and one is a rotten movie. I'm going to tell you their Rotten Tomato scores, and you will get first pick of which one you would like to solve. The way you solve is there are 5 levels. The first level, along with the tomato score, you already know, you'll get the year, and then you'll get a guess just from those 2 things. That's really difficult. Level 2, you'll get the second build actor. Level 3, you'll get the audience score. Level 4, you'll get the first build actor. And level 5, you'll get the blurb or the summary. I think level 3, the audience score, is just, that's a time when going into level 2, you should formulate 2 guesses, right? And you guess the first one. If it's not it, you guess the second one on level 3.
Some of us got mad at level 3 and we're like, I'm done.
Cody is not good under pressure, got totally frustrated, and just completely lost his mind.
I literally said it's between one of these two on the second guess, and I missed it, and I'm like, I'm done.
I mean, it turned into Jerry Springer in here. We almost had to have him escorted out.
Yes.
Okay, so do you understand the basic premise of the game?
I think so, yes.
Okay, so I'm holding in my hand 3 movie profiles from Rotten Tomatoes. One is certified fresh, 80% critical score. The other is a 40% critical score. And then the other one is 5%
Wow.
critical score. So which one do you think you would like to try and solve?
I'm going to try to solve the certified fresh.
The fresh one. Okay.
Smart move.
So it's an 80% Rotten Tomato score. Your level 1 clue is that it was made in 2013. 2013, 80% certified fresh critical reception on the Rotten Tomato score.
Okay, and no Google is allowed, I'm assuming.
No Google.
Okay,
no.
Okay.
Phones down.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Cody will randomly write notes to Dave with guesses.
Cody has guessed wrong. It's a fine guess, though, Cody. It's a fine guess. This is difficult.
Okay. Do I need to write anything down, or do I just say it out loud?
You say
You
it
just
out loud.
Yeah, you just guess. Yeah.
I'm just playing
Okay.
along for kicks and giggles.
I'm terrible at timelines, so I'm not sure when this movie came out. I'm going to say Avatar.
That's a fine guess, but that is incorrect. We move on to level 2, the second build actor. So we've got 80%, came out in 2013. The second build actor is Jonah Hill.
Oh.
Jonah Hill.
21 Jump Street.
It's a good guess, but no, incorrect.
Oh, that was the one I had just wrote down.
Okay.
Level 3, and this is not going to help you much, as the audience score is at 83%. But you are welcome to guess another Jonah Hill movie, because there's only a difference in 3% from the critical score to the audience score.
I don't know too many Jonah Hill movies. The only other one that's coming to mind, I know it's wrong timeline-wise, Superbad.
Yeah, I actually love Superbad, but that's not it.
Yeah.
So we'll move on to level 4. This one might give it away. We have an 80% Rotten Tomato score, 83% audience score for a movie that came out in 2013. Second build actor was Jonah Hill. You'll now get the first build actor. His name is Leonardo DiCaprio.
Oh.
So you've got Leonardo DiCaprio and Jonah Hill in a 2013 movie that was certified fresh.
This is revealing to me that I need to watch more movies. I do not have a guess. I can't even think of a movie with Leonardo in 2013.
I got it.
Cody,
Cody got it.
He couldn't
Oh,
even
no.
sit with the knowledge that he got it right. I nodded, and Cody had to announce it. All
Yeah.
right. This is important because you want to get it with the blurb here.
Okay.
You
All
got
right.
this.
So level 5, just to put the pressure on Cody that he'll have to solve. A Wall Street mogul and dyed-in-the-wool hedonist makes a fortune defrauding investors. But the SEC, the FBI, and his own demons threaten to bring the party to an end. What is this movie, Dan Carroll?
Is it Wolf of Wall Street?
It is Wolf of Wall Street.
Dan got it.
All right, level 5.
All right.
You're already doing better than we did last week.
You solved it, which is pretty good. Cody,
Give me the 40% because
you're not going to go with the bad one?
I did that last time and I choked like a dog.
All right. Cody has chosen the 40% Rotten Tomato score movie. I will now give him the year for level 1. It also is 2013.
Pirates of the Caribbean, Lost at Sea.
A fine guess. That is incorrect. Level 2, you will now get the second build actor.
Okay.
40% movie, 2013. The second build actor is an actress. Her name is Lena Headey.
Oh.
Lena Headey. So she's I feel like she hasn't been in a ton of things.
Oh my goodness. Okay. I'm disappointed in myself. I got nothing.
There's a point where you're going to get it, but
I hope.
that's the second build actor.
Just
Lena
know.
Headey is difficult.
I was flat broke in 2013. So Cody wasn't going to the movie theaters.
The audience score is only 4% lower than the critical score at 36%, but it is interesting that it's lower. Any Lena Headey movie, Terminator, whatever.
Yeah.
It's not that, just so you know.
Yeah, I got nothing.
Okay, level 4, the first build actor. This may rattle some things loose here. The first build actor is Ethan Hawke. in a 40% critical reception movie in 2013. Lena Headey also in it, 36% audience score.
I'm trying to think what Ethan Hawke was doing back then. There was a period he disappeared.
We are heading for a tiebreaker. I can feel it in my bones.
I think Dan has this. This will be two
You don't
straight
think? Oh,
weeks.
you'll get it from the blurb. The
Two
blurb.
straight weeks.
Level 5. Here's the blurb. In a dystopian near future America, one family faces danger and chaos as they struggle to survive the one night of the year when all crime is officially legal.
The Purge.
It is The Purge!
Nicely done. Nicely done.
Hey, we avoided embarrassment. Now we can do a tiebreaker, which is all
I
kinds of
completely
fun.
forgot he was in the first one. So I've seen like every Purge thing since, even the series.
That is the saddest thing I've ever heard.
It is not because I wanted to. It literally is because my wife is like, this is intriguing. And I'm like, it's not. Because where are the people that are openly doing illegal activities right now? There's gangs. There's cartels. Where are they in this?
The whole premise of that movie being that, like, oh, that one night a year was enough for all criminals. Hey, you know what? I like doing this in one night. Let's not do crime the rest of the year.
Yep, got it out of my system.
What? Come on. So this is the tiebreaker. The way this works, Dan, you just raise your hand if you want to answer. I will call on you. First
Okay.
one to get it wins. We'll just kind of go through the levels. Level 1, you'll get the critical score, which is 5%, which you know. And it came out in 1996. Does anyone have a guess? 5%, 1996. Doesn't cost you anything to guess.
Scream.
You did not raise your hand. You raised your hand so you could embarrass yourself with that guess. Scream? 5%? I mean, you might be close on the year, though.
Scream.
All right, good guess. It's wrong. No guess from Dan?
I don't have a guess yet. No.
All right, level 2, the second build actor is, this is amazing, Francis Capra. Y'all wish you could Google now, don't you?
Yep.
Is this wait.
Yeah, okay, Cody, you raised your hand.
I know what you did last summer.
It is not I Know What You Did Last Summer. The critical score, the audience score is 20%. Audiences like this way more than critics.
Wow. Okay.
Francis Capra. Yes, Cody.
13 Ghost.
Also, that's a solid guess, but that is not it. This one might give it away. The first build actor, I'm watching, I'm looking at both of you. The first build actor is Shaquille O'Neal. Dan.
Space Jam.
It is not Space Jam.
Oh, no.
Cody.
Kazam.
It is Kazam.
Oh, I should have known that.
Yes. Oh, I could have got that one if I would have chose it. I would have gotten it so early.
Another successful round of the movie game. We'll be right back with the main topic. We're talking aliens this week in pop culture. We'll be right back.
This is Pop Culture Pastor.
Okay, welcome back. It's time to talk about our main subject. I thought it would be fun to talk about aliens, because aliens has like really come back into our cultural consciousness, I guess. We had the thing down in Miami at the shopping mall. You guys remember that? I still think about that daily, I think, where a lot of shopping people in the mall claim to have seen something, but then everybody was like, no, of course. All the authorities were like, of course that's not what happened. Are you serious right now? Pfft, the internet. Then they all disappeared quickly.
I like to think all the alien craze is because of Giorgio Tsucalos.
Oh, you're going to have to explain who that is.
Ancient aliens guy with tall hair.
The meme.
Yes.
Yeah,
The meme. Aliens. Of course it's aliens.
it is aliens. It's him single-handedly that is bringing this narrative back.
Cody will, every time I bring up aliens, he says, it's like Ancient Aliens, Dave. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Ancient Aliens.
It is. And literally, I watched way more of that than I probably should have ever watched. But the cool thing about Ancient Aliens is they would take you to like these historical sites that rarely get covered within other shows that are historical shows or within your textbooks in history class, and you're like, why was this not talked about? This is really cool. And so you get to see these fascinating archaeological sites, but then you get was it built by ancient man or was it aliens?
It was always aliens. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So when was Ancient Aliens a thing? Because that was like one of the first memes I remember.
It was big when I was in college. So I feel like the early 2010s range.
Okay.
Like it's making its way, and then the memes are like jumping out left and right.
So our view of aliens in pop culture, and I don't think I really thought about this until I started doing some reading and studying for this episode. Our view of aliens in pop culture often reflects the times. So back in 1938, you're on the brink of a Second World War. Everybody's feeling that kind of anxiety and, oh my gosh, what's about to happen type stuff. And they air the radio play, Orson Welles' War of the Worlds, which basically it was the original story was changed so that it took place just in New York State somewhere.
Yeah.
And it freaks people out, obviously, because like on the radio back then, live radio was pretty much like our version of Twitter now. It's happening in real time for them as they're listening, and they're like, it's all put in the context of like a news report. Someone's reporting from the scene, and it terrified people, Cody.
Well, when you have someone with charisma reporting, it definitely helps.
But back in 1938, they put it in that sort of context. It was entertainment, but people didn't know that. It was like the first reality show, right? Or fake reality. It's the first Blair Witch Project.
So that would be a good comparison. Also, like when the emergency nuclear warning went off in Hawaii, or was it emergency weather? They had some fake emergency tweet go out, and everyone's like, oh my goodness, Hawaii's under attack. And it wasn't.
Oh, yeah, I vaguely remember that now.
Yeah. I don't remember enough to tell you which thing was happening, but that fake information was presented as real at the time. And then they're like, oops, someone was a little trigger happy.
Well, this, when this aired on the radio back in 1938, it caused quite a stir, but you can see how it kind of lines up how it played off of people's anxieties at the time. And then you're going to see a pattern here in the McCarthy era when paranoia is the thing. Stories we're telling are like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, where there's this like real paranoia of who can we trust? Is this really a person? I thought of V too, but that's an 80s flick, TV show.
Oh, yeah.
But it was the same sort of thing where aliens are hidden among us. The Cold War brings out the unfeeling alien with Sigourney Weaver, the xenomorph as it's called. The Cold War brings out the unfeeling alien with acid for blood, where, see if this resonates, where winning still might mean losing because you might kill it, but its acid blood might kill you. It sounds like nuclear war. You may win, but you're going to lose. Everyone loses. Later on in the 80s, it starts getting weird with the adorable aliens. E.T., Flight of the Navigator, the helpful aliens, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. E.T. was like the big moment, though, when they go from, I think I should be afraid and paranoid of what the aliens are doing. Now they're simple creatures. They're almost like, pets.
They're adorable.
Mm-hmm. In the late 80s and 90s, you get the political take on aliens with Star Trek The Next Generation and X-Files.
I was going to say, we got to get Star Trek and X-Files in here.
Yeah. Star Trek The Next Generation was kind of my intro into the Star Trek world. I had seen the movies. I was entertained by them enough to watch them, but I didn't really get into them. Star Trek Next Generation, when it comes out, it's syndicated. I watched it every Saturday evening at 6. It would come on before prime time. How old are you, Dan?
I'm 35.
So you're probably not old enough for the Star Trek The Next Generation TV era.
No, I've seen some of the Patrick Stewart Star Trek, but that's about as far as it goes. The movies that have recently come out, I've enjoyed those. That's my extent of Star Trek. I'm more of a Star Wars person.
So I will echo what Dan said. Like, it was on TV, growing up, but my parents didn't watch it, so I didn't watch it.
Well, by the time you're watching TV, Star Trek: The Next Generation's run is over, and it's just on reruns.
Yep.
So you're not able to watch it in any sort of order. Probably it's just on, and look, TV back then, I don't know that you needed completely to watch it in the exact order every time because there were a lot of one-off stories. But as they get through the seasons, they do have some pretty big ongoing stories that go through, especially with like the Borg, things like that, which is another nameless, faceless, unimind alien that's just here bent on your destruction and assimilation. We're going to see a pattern there as we go through time here because that's going to be a pattern of it's just a force that's coming and you can't stop it type. 9/11 brings about Cloverfield, which I don't know if in the movie they ever really tell you it's an alien. The first movie, because it's all found footage like Blair Witch.
Oh, it was so shaky. I hated it.
I seriously think I vomited after watching Cloverfield in the theater. Much like the zombie genre, the alien genre is often an allegory. Where zombies reflect a fear of ourselves, that's kind of an inward fear, and our urge to consume each other in the name of capitalism, not to go anti-capitalist Cody here. But the alien genre seems to mostly reflect our fears, outwardly, only occasionally turning to wonder. Because now in today's world, one of the big shows that came out on Netflix this year was The Three Body Problem, which is essentially an alien invasion story, except the human race has 400 years to prepare.
Oh, well, that's nice.
So the anxiety we're playing on now is like future dread, which, like everyone under the age of 25 has future dread now because that's what we do. We convince them that the world is falling apart, that it used to be good and we ruined it. The older generations ruined it. Everyone under the age of 25 is convinced we ruined it. And we're just like, no, everything's going normal. Anyways, you should watch The Three Body Problem because it was entertaining, if not a little complex and heavy.
My alien shows are light and fun.
The term flying saucers, widely believed to have entered popular culture June 24th, 1947, when...
Roswell?
No. When Kenneth... This happens before Roswell.
Okay.
1947, Kenneth Arnold, a private pilot from Idaho, reported seeing 9 circular objects flying at supersonic speed near Washington's Mount Rainier. The government's Project Blue Book analyzed more than 12,000 sightings between 1952 and 1969. Shortly after that sighting, it just blows up.
That History Channel show made me angry.
Which one?
Project Blue Book.
Oh, why did it make you angry?
Because it's presented based off of a real life thing, but then they fictionalize a whole bunch of random stuff in it. I don't need the fictionalized version. You give me facts or you give me nothing.
Side note, what is the History Channel even doing? Why are they fictionalizing anything? We don't want regular TV shows. We have plenty of channels for that.
Literally. Some people really loved Project Blue Book, and then they're like, oh, this is really what happened. And I'm like,
nope.
But no, not really. You would have heard about some of this long before now if this is what happened. But you get out here. Get off my lawn.
12,000 reported sightings between 1952 and 1969.
Oh, that number skyrocketed.
701 are still left unexplained. Wow. Here's a quote from Adrian Horton, who wrote this article in The Guardian about aliens and pop cultures. In pop culture, they said this, quote, UFO stories can be terrifying, silly, bombastic, insidious. They're also fun, a legible way to explore powers and ideas beyond human perception through the familiar structure and beats of human-crafted stories. There's a reason many alien films hold on to the reveal of their creatures until the final act. There is hope in the open-endedness, space in the indefinite, momentum in the push for answers, end quote. I like that quote and included it because I think for some people, aliens is their faith. Look at what they're trying to answer with the hope of alien existence. Many of the same things we're looking to answer. It's existentialism stuff.
I think part of the reason you don't get the aliens till the very end or the last minute and you only see them for a little bit, it's because...
It's about money, isn't it?
No. It's because the graphics look like trash.
It's a cash grab.
No, I mean, remember when you first saw the aliens in Signs? You're like, oh, this is what we're worried
No, I don't remember that at all. I loved Signs.
I love Signs too, but when you see the alien,
Yeah, it freaks me out.
Yeah.
I think most of the time you see it and you're like, this is what your imagination came up with.
I think for the time, the special effects were
You
fine
can
on that.
say
movie.
for
E.T.
the
freaked
time,
me out.
and yet go back and watch it and you'll be like,
Well, I can go back now. If Mel Gibson was in the room, he would beat you.
and I would tell it to his face.
Dan liked Signs.
I did.
Okay, I love Signs.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to tell you that there are some deep theological things happening in the movie Signs, but I think the reason you don't get it is because A, you weren't wrong. Cost. If you want quality aliens and to have them on screen for a long amount of time, that's going to cost serious money. If your aliens are not quality and you want to save a few bucks, you put it to the end and then you have it be, that's not bad. It's not bad.
No, I think cynical Cody has made an appearance because I feel like the point of the movie Signs is not the aliens, though. That's
not.
the reason you don't see him. He's ratcheting up dread.
He is. And so it might not be the best example, but literally, I want you to think back on several alien movies not named Alien and think, how did the alien actually look? Is this something I want to watch today? Mac and me is, do you want that alien? I don't think so.
I cannot think of Alien or Aliens without thinking of the scene in Spaceballs when the little alien pops out of the guy's chest and sings, "Hello, my baby. Hello, my darling. Hello, my ragtime gal." I just can't. I cannot think of Aliens without thinking of that scene in Spaceballs. Anyone else? No.
I have to not take aliens seriously, or they truly scare me.
It is kind of scary. Alien, in specifically, we kind of touched on that, but Aliens was a movie that really scared. The sequel, the one that came out in the 80s, really scared me as a kid. Because one, I was too young to watch it, but that's Gen X 80s thing. Mm-hmm. But the way that movie is crafted in that they're just coming, they're an unstoppable force, and you can't really, there's nothing you can really do, which is just frightening. And at one point, that you think they're going to get off the planet, and you got the famous line by Bill Paxton where he's like, "We'll just nuke it from the air, man. Let's get out of here and nuke it from the air." And the ship's coming down, it blows up or whatever. And it's like, "Oh, it's game over. It's game over, man." And you were right. I'm like, I'm with you, Bill. This is game over. You guys are dead meat. Yeah. And he doesn't make it out of that movie. Sigourney Weaver does. And Newt.
I don't know if Newt should have made it.
Well, she did. She lived alone on that complex infested with aliens for a long time. It's probably James Cameron's best work.
Ooh.
Yeah, I said it.
Terminator 2 might have issue.
Aliens is better than Alien.
Oh, yeah. That is undeniable.
Anyways, that's kind of sets the scene for what we want to talk about, aliens and pop culture. I want to kind of go around the table here. What are your favorite depictions of aliens in pop culture and why? Dan, do you have some favorites?
I do. So I can think of three for sure that I just absolutely love. The movie Contact, Jodie Foster.
Okay, yeah.
It's not heavy on the alien necessarily in that movie. It's more about human perseverance.
Again, I would say it's not the point. Yeah.
Right. But the concept of the aliens in that movie just struck me as something not scary, which is usually what I associate aliens with. Mm-hmm. So that was just a cool take on kind of like almost like Shepherds of the Galaxy type aliens, which was cool.
Yeah, they're very much. Well, I would say they definitely play on the faith aspect of that one too. Mm-hmm. Matthew McConaughey's character is actually a priest.
Yeah.
In that movie, based on a Carl Sagan book. I enjoyed that movie, but the ending is a little weird. Absolutely. I always felt like it was kind of unsatisfying. I'm like, no. Even back before I was a believer, I really wanted them to say, well, it's God. Right. It turns out they're not aliens at all. It's God. I really wanted them to just say that, which is weird because I was not a church person back then.
Sure.
But that was the frustration I had from that story. Did you know they're redoing that?
Really?
Just in the last couple of weeks, I've read that they're ratcheting up not a reboot, I guess, another try at contact.
Huh. Interesting. I hadn't heard
I
that.
guess
I'm
it
not sure how I
probably
feel
won't-
about that. But
Probably won't have Jake Busey as the crazy terrorist guy who blows up the shuttle. Remember that? He was in that,
yes.
Jake Busey.
You can get any Busey, really.
Just, if you need a crazy terrorist guy, just get a Busey. Go on. What other, some other,
so the movie Arrival.
you like the thinking man's aliens.
Yes, but I may surprise you with the third one then. 'Cause
Okay.
It's definitely not. It's definitely a different take on aliens, but it's more along the imminent force that's just unstoppable. It's about man's ingenuity and how can we save the planet from these aliens.
What do you like about Arrival?
Arrival to me was more about unity. A lot of times, alien movies, it's them versus us. In that one, it was they're coming to kind of unify humanity for their common good.
Yeah.
Which was a similar theme in Contact as well.
I'll tell you, I appreciate those kind of movies and Contact more than like a War of the Worlds, for instance, because I want to talk about the Fermi paradox. Are you aware of the Fermi paradox?
Yes. Is that with all this space, why haven't we found...
If the universe is limitless, if, like NASA said, they've literally found hundreds of thousands of worlds that live in zones that could have habitable life, then we would have been contacted by now, because it would be really egotistical of us and a very low percentage, i.e. not Occam's razor. It would be very egotistical of us to think we are the most advanced. There would most assuredly be someone more advanced, and it defies logic. The way we imagine aliens, they're coming to harvest.
Right.
They're coming to attack the planet. Actually, most ingenuity would come from you build a ship and a technology so you can explore.
Sure.
And then you only want to explore if you want to make contact. That's kind of what Contact is about, right? Mm-hmm. That Carl Sagan wrote. And so the Fermi paradox says, since that's not happened, clearly there is no alien life, which I kind of subscribe to that theory. At least no alien life, unidentified life out there, out in space. I just think it's a harsh environment for a reason. Mm-hmm. And
shenanigans.
Cody does not agree.
You think about the vastness of space.
But that's the point.
And you assume that they're going to come find us?
Well, that's the point
Like,
of
we
making
haven't
technology.
left.
That's what are we doing? What is NASA doing?
I mean, we literally haven't sent anyone. So if
We will, though.
But if a huge piece of our satellites that are going out hundreds and hundreds of thousands of miles away just crashes into your orbit, your atmosphere, it's going to burn up and you're going to be like, shooting star. Okay, get off my lawn.
So what Cody has just done is he's been egotistical. He assumes that other aliens would be just the same on the advancement as we are.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm
Look
saying,
at dumb shooting star. Charlton Heston alien out there like,
I'm saying, though, if they are millions of light years away,
yeah,
that's going to be a
Right.
unsurmountable way to get to us.
But they could be billions of years older than us, theoretically speaking. Thus,
they
much
could be way
farther
more
along.
advanced. I'm just saying, I don't think that we're leaving enough doors open.
I'm leaving all the doors open. I was just trying to explain what the Fermi paradox was.
Get out here, Fermi. Get out.
Anyways, I like the idea of those stories, Contact, even, to some extent, Interstellar had a little bit of that kind of stuff too,
Right.
where it's more of a higher order, a higher being, something like that. But go ahead. You had another one?
So this movie has two titles. Don't ask me why. I've never heard of too many movies that have multiple titles, but this one is either called Edge of Tomorrow or Live, Die, Repeat.
Yeah. Yeah. The Tom Cruise one.
Yeah. Unabashedly huge fan of Tom Cruise.
Wow. Okay. All right.
I mean, I don't know him as a person. I can't speak for him as a person, but he
Serious question, Dan. Are you a Scientologist? Why don't you just
not.
let us know
I am
right here on
not.
the air?
But
We did
I
go by
love
one of his
movies.
churches.
Have you met my friend
I've
Jesus?
seen that on Facebook. sorry, I didn't hear your question.
I said, have you met my friend Jesus?
Yes.
No. You're not a Scientologist.
Not
obviously.
a Scientologist, but I do enjoy a good Tom Cruise movie.
The aliens in that movie, I don't think I've seen all that movie. I think I've seen parts of it.
So they're kind of like this highly adaptive virus, essentially, that controls time. So I don't want to give too much. Do you guys do spoilers on this?
Yeah.
That movie's been out for a
super
long
old.
time,
Okay,
so
good.
you
Just
can
like
spoil
Tom.
it.
If you haven't seen it, it's your own fault. Yeah. So they have the ability to control time and can reset in order to learn from the mistakes of, whatever they're attacking.
Okay.
And that's how they defeat it.
Very cool.
So Tom Cruise gets that ability temporarily and thus learns how to defeat them.
Yeah.
That's
Very
how
nice.
my friend Tom Cruise rolls.
I like Dan's picks. They're all not the standard for what we think of when we think of alien flicks or aliens in pop culture. Cody, what are some of your favorites?
Okay, so I'm all over the place, and I'll even go TV series.
Me too. Yeah.
Okay, so the first one is Resident Alien. So it's a very modern take on aliens. Also, comic book, now TV series.
You talked about it recently.
I have.
What else? What are your other favorite depictions of aliens? in pop culture?
Okay, so Doctor Who is technically an alien show.
That's true. Yeah. Doctor Who, the Doctor is an alien, correct?
Yes, 2 hearts, not one. And
So he can love you twice as much.
exactly. Time Lord travels through space and time, and you encounter a ton of different alien races and species. Occasionally, they come to Earth and try to do harm, but the Doctor is the protector.
Why? What's his motivation? He's like an angel?
He's more of a savior type.
Oh, okay.
Although there is an episode where
It's heretical.
where you get there's something that's older and far more grander than he is.
By the way, editor's note, you should listen to the Time Lord Academy podcast with our very own Cody and our very own Geek Scotty.
Yes, please, if you like Doctor Who. We're going episode by episode from Eccleston on up.
We just had to throw that in there.
Yes, Doctor Who's fun. So I'll go to movies now. So I mentioned Signs. Signs is...
Oh, you like Signs?
I told you I like Signs.
Because it sounded like you didn't like
I
Signs.
don't care for the alien that much.
All right.
The depiction of it. And so that's part of the reason I'm like, swing away. Get that thing off my screen. And A Quiet Place. The whole series of A Quiet Place movies. There is something, though, that I find interesting within some of our depictions, especially those movies. They are just this force of nature. And then they have one weakness that seems like this is too obvious.
Yeah. It's always Deus Ex Machina with those stories. That at the end, some amazing weakness will present itself just kind of randomly and will win.
So I have 2 theories on it. One is it is our lack of humility that we have to ultimately win the day. We can't make them like Superman.
We're back to the Fermi paradox again.
We are. So we can't make them like Superman where nothing can stop them. Something has to be able to stop them. And water is something that stops both of them, and sounds for A Quiet Place also. In A Quiet Place, they can't swim. So they're stuck on the mainland.
Yeah, they have that one weakness. Yeah, the Quiet Place. That is a trope. Signs, it's water. War of the Worlds, that happens. The aliens don't account for our viruses and bacteria and germs, which that's very much like a Age of Exploration type story.
So my second theory is
Reversed, whatever. Anyways, go on.
Okay, so we've identified a lot of places that are like our atmosphere, our Goldilocks zone from stars. Well, maybe they're not from an environment like us. And so maybe they don't have hydrogen and oxygen that blend together and make this liquid. And so they might be people that don't know how to swim, or aliens that don't know how to swim. If you're thinking, well, they're just out here to conquer and destroy, which you don't really get motives for why
No.
they do this in those movies. And so they're just here. And
Which is, by the way, why you should watch The Three Body Problem on Netflix. They definitely have motives. There's a whole reason why they're coming. It gets deep. That's a smart story,
I'm gonna check that one out.
but it's super it's deeper than most stories. I'll say that.
those movies I like, even though you don't really know the motives. They're just here.
Force of nature type stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
My last three, and I'll rattle them off, and they're kind of random. Knowing with Nicolas Cage and Haley Joel Osment.
I forgot that those were aliens.
That was a very underrated, undervalued movie.
It was entertaining for sure.
It was. And
I
I'm
liked
like,
it.
I don't know why we're hating Nicolas Cage right now.
No one should hate Nick Cage.
Save Nick Cage. District 9. Love District 9.
Very good. Yeah. Also an allegory.
Yep.
Something to say.
And then if aliens are real, this is how I envision them.
Batteries not included.
Life.
Oh, no. Life? What is that?
It's a Ryan Reynolds, Jake Gyllenhaal movie where there's like this blob virus bacteria thing.
It was Venom before Venom.
Yep.
Yeah.
We think aliens are going to have bodies and shapes that are similar to us because we lack humility. They might look completely different, or they might be more minuscule than what we're expecting or looking for.
But if it's minuscule, it means they're far less advanced. And then
Theoretically.
we're back to lack of humility.
According to Ant-Man Quantumania, those ants...
We should probably not be basing any real world knowledge on Ant-Man Quantumania. So my favorite depictions of aliens in pop culture is always going to start with Superman. Always going to start with Kal-El. I love that they never really lose the alien part of him. So it's a story that's sort of based around that. This is why I love Smallville. Because it's the Arrowverse kind of CW type show.
Yep.
So it's not like, look, it's not the highest quality thing you've ever watched. But for me, it really grabs me that the whole story is about, hey, you remember how awkward and terrible high school was? Now add into it, you're an alien and you're trying to come to grips with all this. And you got to be careful. You can't really trust people. You can't really be around people. You got to keep your distance. So like that whole aspect of Superman's story, it never really goes away. And I love that part of the story. I love that he's altruistic. He has these abilities and he wants to help people. And then his enemies are, I mean, like, look, Lex Luthor, his arch enemy, it's all based on his xenophobia. He's afraid of Superman. That's why he works so hard to get rid of him, is because he has a lust for power, yes. But at the end of the day, he hates Superman because he's an alien.
Batman versus Superman. Batman's beef is he's an alien that has super abilities that no one can match.
So Batman's paranoid.
Yep.
Right? So that plays off of our paranoia with aliens, right? Oh, if we don't account for this, it's a loose end. Mm-hmm. Batman does not like loose ends.
Not at all.
So I really love Superman. There was a random movie. This is going to be really random. Back in the 80s, there was a movie called Starman starring Jeff Bridges.
Oh, yeah.
It came out in 1984.
A little bit before my time, but yes.
Yeah, it also had Karen Allen. So 2 big stars in it at the time. Here's the blurb. 86% on Rotten Tomatoes, by the way. Store that.
Yes, because that's going to be in the game.
Answering a NASA message intended for aliens, a space being tries to contact mankind, but an American missile grounds his ship. Scrambling, the so-called Starman, played by Jeff Bridges, inhabits the body of a late Wisconsinite and kidnaps the dead man's widow, Jenny Hayden, played by Karen Allen. Determined to reunite with a vessel from his home planet at a predetermined site, Starman and Jenny travel to Arizona. Pursued by military officials trying to kill him, Starman forges a lasting bond with Jenny. And by lasting bond, it means they fall in love.
Aww.
And he's inhabiting the body of her dead husband. It's super weird. But as a kid, I was super engaged with this movie.
That might be a Be Kind rewind and see if it holds up.
Oh, I'm sure it doesn't. And I'm sure In fact, I think there's a weird part. Okay, so they fall in love. He like gives her like this glowing ball. Get your mind out of the gutter.
Okay.
He's in like it like there's I think the movie implies that she might be pregnant. I don't know. It's weird. Super weird, and seems super dangerous to introduce an alien DNA into the human gene pool that's clearly so high end.
Indeed.
Anyways, I remember enjoying the concept of that movie because, you know, when that comes out, it's all about Star Wars, Star Trek. You know, aliens are very much aliens. The concept of them, that was just a different kind of concept. I loved Predator when it came out.
I prefer the Predator franchise over Aliens franchise.
So do I.
I'm glad you mentioned it.
I think there's more to work with in that
yes.
franchise because the Predators are not mindless, whereas the aliens kind of act like, I would say, insects almost. They're just doing what they do, and they're looking to consume. That's it, and reproduce. Whereas predators are smart and they hunt. They're hunters. And I love that the creation of the predators isn't that they hunt to survive. It's totally for sport.
Yep.
Which, you know, I always wondered why more redneck dudes didn't love Predator. It seems like a natural fit.
It should be. Or if you are on the exact opposite end and like save all the animals, I would think that you would love it and be like, see, this is why we don't hunt.
I loved Transformers, the cartoon in the 80s. Is still one of my absolute favorites.
Unicron.
The movies that have come out recently are like the bane of my existence.
The last one wasn't bad. It was good. I will say it was good. I will put my seal of good on it.
My problem is they've already changed so much of the lore with them that I'm just like, I'm not interested. I liked my version of the Transformers, which seems to be, this is a running theme in IP, which is fine. I'm glad some people like it. It's not that I'm mad at it. Like, good, make movies that people like at least. That I'm for that. Maybe it's not for me, but that's okay. I can say it's not for me anymore. I just love the cartoons. I loved Optimus. I even loved the movie the Transformers the movie, aside from having an amazing soundtrack.
And having Unicron.
Voiced by Orson Welles.
Yes.
Second time we've name dropped him this episode.
Go Orson. Rest in peace.
Ties in. Yeah, like did the War of the Worlds in 1938. But yeah, he's the voice of Unicron in the movie. But the movie is just a clever narrative device to change all the characters and sell more toys.
Yep.
And I didn't even care. I was like, bring on Rodimus Prime. I'm here for it. RC and the one that talked real fast that was voiced by the Micro Machines guy. Plus the soundtrack. Stan Bush. You got the touch. You got the power. I mean, that's just ultimate 80s. Iconic 80s.
The 80s I was there for.
Recently, Groot, the Marvel Universe has a couple of aliens that I really love. Groot is awesome.
Groot is.
Because he's simple, but that doesn't mean he's not smart. Mm-hmm. It plays on humans' lack of humility because you assume he's big dummy. But he's not. He's actually intelligent.
I am Groot.
Yeah. But we just don't understand.
Yep. That's us, not him.
Thanos is, I think, not only one of the most interesting alien characters in pop culture. I think he's one of the most interesting villains in pop culture because in the base of it, he's not a villain. He doesn't think of himself as a villain. He's played in the MCU movies, especially like when he kills Loki. He's played over the top menacing, which I get it for the movie. That's kind of where you want him. Most of the time in the comic books, he's very
rational.
Yeah, he's very rational. He's very logical. And it's not, he wouldn't think of himself as a villain. He thinks he's being a hero. And he might not be wrong. That's the best part about Thanos, is he might be right.
I know people like doctorates of a lot of different industries that have gone on record or have said this statement of there's too many people on our planet. It can only sustain this amount of life forms with the food that we're producing and with global warming being an issue. that number is going to drop. And so
Yeah.
we need something to slow the growth.
Smart people are saying that, and it's the thing we don't want to talk about because
It
it
is.
seems like, ooh, yuck. Like we don't want to talk about it, but it might actually be the problem. Anyways, that's a side
is.
conversation. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention like my 80s sitcom Aliens. Number one, Mork and Mindy, which is my introduction to Robin Williams. So I have a special place in my heart for Mork and Mindy. I kind of loved that show when I was little. And Alf.
Alien life form.
Yeah, that was in our early 80s phase, kind of after E.T. too. Mork and Mindy came out before E.T., but still in that same where, oh, the aliens are lovable goofballs.
Do you count the Asgardians as
No.
aliens?
In the MCU, you can, because that's what they're clear. And I think they did something really smart there, actually.
get
Because-
rid of the demigod?
Yeah, you don't have to. Like in the comic books, they're clearly the Norse gods. Mm-hmm. But then you open the door to this whole conversation that nobody wants to have, really. I mean, some people want to have it, but those people just like to argue. Like, listen, this is coming from a pastor. Like, it's a story. Just don't think so much. Just enjoy the story. Anyways, it was probably smart of them to change them to more like aliens in the MCU. That way, you just avoid the discussion altogether.
And occasionally throw out that humans considered them to be demigods.
Yeah, but I actually think of them as not aliens, but denizens of another realm, which we're going to get into right now.
Okay.
Because the last question I want to talk about is, we've been talking about aliens in pop culture. Do you think aliens are real?
I will tell you, my friend Tom DeLonge not only thinks it, he knows it. He has people in the government that have told him they're real. They're just not wanting to talk about it on record yet.
Well, he's not the only one. Tucker Carlson,
The Tuck.
who like, listen, former talking head on Fox News, and when he was on Fox News, I didn't care. I wouldn't have cared about anything he said because I don't care about politics. But after he left Fox News, he's kind of gone on this Tom DeLonge-like crusade where he's using his journalism background and he's been investigating these alien sightings, UAPs, I think they're called now. And he says the same thing that Tom DeLonge is saying, that he has connections inside the government, inside the deep circle, inside circles of the government who are saying this, that there are these things, they have made contact, and this is the interesting part. They're not from outer space. He said they're either from in the earth or they're intradimensional beings, which this is when it gets super interesting to me because I'm just like, okay, now we're talking. Because all of a sudden, this is bigger than aliens. This could be this. Well, first of all, it could fit a lot of faith traditions,
Yeah.
not just my own. I'm not just going Christian honk here, although it does fit. There are
does.
principalities. There's an unseen realm.
Things seen and unseen.
So, what do you guys think about all that? Because he's going on Joe Rogan and he's not mincing words. I mean, he's just saying it, and he's saying people in the government are saying, yes, we know for a fact that these are intradimensional beings that are present in and around the earth.
I'll let Dan go first.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Dan's like, don't call on
Unless
me.
you
Don't
want
call on
me to
me.
go first.
Dan,
No.
do you have an answer for this?
I think the only answer is I don't know. I love to speculate that there. I mean, I think the Bible clearly spells out that there is precedent for non-human intelligence,
Right.
or beings that are supernatural in nature. I think that is spelled out very plainly, and I don't think that we have to speculate on that. Whether or not they're extraterrestrial or interdimensional, that kind of stuff, I like to think that the physical world is probably much more, there's more depth to it than we meets the eye. So even things in the ocean we haven't explored. I just saw a video on TikTok today that was saying that, oh, wow, look at this new ocean creature that they discovered that they can't explain, that disappeared, before they could study it or whatever. So I think that there's, even just without going too far into alien type stuff, there's stuff that we just don't even understand fully at the base level.
It is funny that this conversation lends itself so nicely the conversation about aliens to talk about our own humility. Because what you were just talking about there is like, we like to think we have it all figured out and that we know everything there is to know.
Not even close.
Even though any neurologist will tell you that we use 10% of our brain. We hardly know anything about our own brain. Using so little of it would lead you to believe that that would affect our senses, that we're running on a 10th power of our senses. What would we sense if our brains were unlocked?
Are you going third eye blind on me?
You mean like the band? No? Does this have anything to do with the pyramid with the eye on the back of my dollar bill?
Exactly.
Uh-huh. I knew it. Someone call Alex Jones. What do you think, Cody? Do you think aliens are real? Do you think they come from space? Do you think they're interdimensional beings? What do you think about? I'm really interested in Tucker Carlson.
So the Tuck is kind of baffling to me.
He is. I would agree with that.
Because, I mean, he had gone very heavy into the political things, and now he's in the realm, or still in the realm, if depending on what side of the aisle you're on, of conspiracy theory-esque. But this is like a whole nother category of it that most of us either don't think about or don't want to think about.
Yeah. Yeah. Like Barack Obama's real name. No, you don't got me there, Tuck. Alien interdimensional beings? Okay.
Yes.
Let me know. The only problem with him that I find, and I don't know if you identify with this, is like I watched the 3-4 hours of him on Joe Rogan, and they talked a lot about this. He's an unreliable narrator. I'm never sure. Is he just doing this to stay in the spotlight, to keep getting interviews, to sell books? What is he doing? Or is he really into this? Is he really being a journalist now?
Part of my issue always with Tom and with Tuck is, who are these sources?
That's not what I thought you were going to say.
So
Because I have a major problem with him too, but go on.
part of my, I guess, thought processy with aliens goes back to Ancient Aliens, because they would not only visit these historical sites, but they would bring in different faith stories. And they would highlight, is it Ezekiel in the wheel, in the chariot? So that story. They would talk about the great battle of the gods in the Hindu faith. They would talk about all these things and the chariots of fire. And they're like, what if these aren't angelic beings or not gods, but are actually ancient aliens?
Yeah.
And so they would always do that. And then I would be pondering this. So what if what we're actually observing is actually angelic beings or something along that line? And we are the ones that we changed our perspective or our viewpoint. And now we have a more us-centered instead of there being something bigger.
Here's the problem with all of this discussion. It's always us-centered.
Yes.
So we do it because we're pastors. Of course, it's going to be more interesting to me if you start saying you have sources that say that these creatures are intradimensional, because then it starts fitting in with my biblical worldview, right?
Yes.
Cleaner. Like listen, my biblical worldview can fit just about anything.
Yeah.
God can do whatever he wants. So that's not a problem for me, but it fits a little bit cleaner. It makes a little bit more sense. But I am falling victim to the same thing I'm afraid Tom DeLonge and Tucker Carlson are falling victim to. The same thing I think a lot of scientists fall victim to. It's that I'm going into it with something I want it to be.
A preconceived notion.
And the ancient alien guy too.
Oh,
he
yeah.
wants it to be aliens.
He knows it's aliens.
It's much less boring to him if the pyramids were just built by slaves.
It is. Or if all the Bigfoot sightings across the globe aren't actually apes that are trying to harvest minerals for aliens, and that they're just people that are delusional. So, and part of my thing with like UFOs,
Maybe aliens just need cows.
exactly. So part of my thing with UFOs in particular is light and our atmosphere can do funny things.
Yeah.
Even when you're driving on a very sunny day, especially when it's hot out and you're like driving down the highway, you get weird wavy. It's because of the way the light's bouncing off the road. Right. Our eyes are not always the best at detecting what is real or what isn't. They're trying to interpret with our brain. There is so many things that happen that I'm like, I don't know. Like, it could just be that there was a weird cloud there and you all saw this as that. The people that have footage, I'm like, well, it looks like what I would perceive an alien or a UFO to be, but again, I have a preconceived notion. I don't know if that is what it is. I also don't know what we're spending billions and billions of dollars on for defense and military stuff, that like, oh, there could be something way cooler than the stealth bomber. Everyone knows we have that. But what do we not know that our government has? And so that's part of my like, well, it could be something else that we actually do possess and we're just not telling us about it.
Hey, that was a combination of contrarian, cynical, and capitalist Cody all in one.
It was.
Go back and replay the tape. You hit them all.
Trifecta.
Mark the tape. This is an important distinction in the pop culture pastor history.
Yes. So honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if there are life forms on other planets, in other galaxies. They might look like bacteria, though.
I think that's a good place to end it.
I will say what KB, the Christian rapper, said, though, about this.
Okay.
Because
what did KB say?
He has a podcast, and he talked about this.
Originator of the church clap.
What he said was he doesn't know if they're green, doesn't know if they look like men, but what he does know is that every knee shall bow and confess that Jesus is Lord.
Okay.
And so that's where he ended it. He's like, I don't know if they're out there or not, but if they are, there's going to be a day.
Well, that's a great place to end it. But if we back up a little bit, I think it's also a good place to end it when you were talking again about it comes back to humility again, or lack thereof. Mm-hmm. The fact that we think we have everything all figured out, even when we see something we don't really know what it is. It comes back to that because it's stunning our lack of humility because of what I just talked about with the brain. We can't trust our brain. You can't even trust your senses all that much.
Yeah.
It's a well-established fact you can't trust your memory.
Mm-hmm. That's more and more apparent.
It's wild how sure of ourselves we are. And do you believe in aliens? Do you not believe in aliens? Have you think you've seen them? Did you see what you thought you saw? How do we ever know?
The Dunning-Kruger effect, which is a psychological term about people that know a little bit, think that they are an expert in a certain area, and then run with it.
Alan Jackson fell victim to the Dunning-Kruger effect because he knew a little bit about living and a lot about love.
That wasn't where I thought you were going to go.
No? Okay. Well, you have to be from way down yonder in the Chattahoochee to get that joke, but it seems like a good place to end it. What do you guys think about aliens? What are your favorite depictions of aliens in pop culture? Do you think real aliens exist? Do you think they're interdimensional beings? I have a feeling that a lot of people are going to think that one.
That one's more interesting.
It really is. I will watch a Tucker Carlson interview at any time now, just because I like the conjecture about this, but not because I like Tuck. He's okay. All right. Dan, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Everyone, make sure to subscribe and share the posts. Follow us on social media. Share the pod. Rate us, review us, do all that stuff. We'll see you next time.